When people cross 60, something quiet but serious begins to happen inside the body. It doesn't announce itself with pain or fever. It doesn't show up overnight. It happens slowly, invisibly, and most people mistake it for normal aging. Muscles that once responded quickly begin to shrink. Strength fades even if body weight stays the same. Balance becomes uncertain. Getting up from a chair feels harder. Carrying groceries feels heavier than it used to. This process has a medical name, but what matters more is the consequence. Losing muscle means losing independence, resilience, and metabolic power. Many people believe muscle loss after 60 is inevitable. That belief is one of the biggest mistakes. Aging itself is not the main problem. Inactivity, nutrient signaling failure, and hormonal resistance are. Muscles don't disappear just because of age. They disappear because the signals that tell them to stay strong are no longer loud enough. The good news is that signals can be restored. The body, even after 60, is still highly responsive when given the right instructions. Muscle is not just about looking strong. Muscle is a metabolic organ. It regulates blood sugar, protects joints, supports posture, stabilizes the spine, and even influences immune function. Every pound of muscle lost increases insulin resistance, increases fall risk, and accelerates frailty. This is why muscle loss is now considered a stronger predictor of early mortality than cholesterol levels in older adults. Losing muscle is not cosmetic. It is clinical. Here's what most people don't realize. After 60, the body becomes resistant to protein in the same way it becomes resistant to insulin. You can eat the same foods you ate at 40 and still lose muscle. This is not because protein stops working, but because the trigger that turns protein into muscle growth becomes weaker. That trigger is a molecule called leucine. Leucine acts like a key. Without enough of it at the right time, muscle protein synthesis never fully turns on. Now here is where coffee enters the conversation. Coffee itself does not build muscle. But coffee is one of the most powerful daily rituals people over 60 already have. And when you add the right thing to it, coffee becomes a delivery system for muscle, preserving signals that work with your biology, not against it. One of the biggest accelerators of muscle loss after 60 is chronic low-grade inflammation. This inflammation doesn't feel like swelling or pain. It quietly interferes with muscle repair. It blunts anabolic hormones. It tells the body to conserve instead of rebuild. Coffee, when consumed properly, actually lowers inflammatory markers. But when combined with certain compounds, it can amplify muscle-preserving pathways. Another silent factor is cortisol. Cortisol is not a bad hormone. It helps you wake up and respond to stress. But chronically elevated cortisol breaks down muscle tissue. Poor sleep, under-eating protein, and prolonged fasting without resistance training raise cortisol levels in older adults. Coffee consumed alone, especially on an empty stomach, can spike cortisol even higher. This is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Adding the right nutrients to coffee changes this response entirely. Instead of cortisol dominance, you shift toward anabolic balance. Instead of muscle breakdown, you promote muscle maintenance. One of the most powerful additions is collagen peptides combined with a leucine-rich protein source. Collagen alone does not build muscle, but it supports connective tissue, tendons, and joints. When joints feel better, people move more. Movement is the first step in muscle preservation. When collagen is paired with leucine, muscle cells receive both the structural support and the growth signal they need. Another key compound is creatine. Creatine is not a bodybuilding supplement, it is one of the most researched molecules in medicine. After 60, natural creatine stores decline significantly. This directly reduces muscle power, not just muscle size. Power is what prevents falls. Power is what helps you catch yourself when you stumble. Adding a small daily dose of creatine, even mixed into warm coffee, has been shown to improve strength, cognitive function, and muscle retention in older adults without stressing the kidneys in healthy individuals. There is also a critical role for cinnamon and cacao polyphenols. These compounds improve insulin sensitivity. When insulin sensitivity improves, amino acids are more effectively driven into muscle cells, instead of being burned or stored as fat. Muscle growth does not happen without insulin signaling. This is why people with poor blood sugar control lose muscle faster. Adding cinnamon or raw cacao to coffee enhances nutrient partitioning toward muscle. Magnesium is another overlooked factor. Magnesium deficiency is extremely common in people over 60 and directly impairs muscle contraction and recovery. Low magnesium increases muscle cramps, weakness, and fatigue. When magnesium levels are restored, muscles respond better to resistance signals. Coffee itself depletes magnesium slightly, but adding it back creates balance instead of loss. Then there is vitamin D. Vitamin D is not just a vitamin. It functions like a hormone. Muscle cells have vitamin D receptors. Without sufficient vitamin D, muscle strength declines even if protein intake is adequate. While vitamin D is not typically added directly to coffee, fat-soluble carriers like MCT oil or grass-fed butter improve its absorption when taken alongside. This leads to another crucial point: muscle loss accelerates when dietary fat intake is too low. Hormone production depends on fat. Testosterone, estrogen balance, and growth hormone signaling all require adequate fat intake. When people over 60 cut fat aggressively, muscle loss accelerates even if calories are sufficient. Adding a healthy fat to coffee stabilizes blood sugar, reduces cortisol spikes, and supports hormone signaling. However, none of this works in isolation. Coffee additions are not magic powders. They amplify what you already do. If you never challenge your muscles, the signal still fades. The body only preserves what it needs. This does not require heavy gym workouts. Even 2 to 3 short sessions of resistance training per week, using body weight, bands, or light weights, can completely change the trajectory of muscle loss. Muscle responds to tension, not exhaustion. Slow, controlled movements send stronger preservation signals than endless cardio. Walking is excellent for cardiovascular health, but walking alone does not preserve muscle after 60. Muscles need resistance to know they are still required. Protein timing also matters more than protein quantity at this age. Instead of spreading small amounts throughout the day, the body responds better to fewer, larger protein doses that cross the leucine threshold. This is why adding a protein source to coffee in the morning can be so effective. It turns the first meal of the day into a muscle-preserving signal rather than a stress response. Sleep cannot be ignored. Growth hormone release peaks during deep sleep. Poor sleep increases muscle breakdown and decreases muscle repair. Caffeine too late in the day disrupts this process. Coffee should support your rhythm, not fight it. Morning consumption paired with nutrients supports muscle. Late day caffeine accelerates loss. Hydration also plays a role. Muscle tissue is highly hydrated. Dehydration reduces strength and increases fatigue. Coffee is mildly diuretic, but when balanced with electrolytes, it does not cause net fluid loss. Adding a pinch of mineral-rich salt restores electrolyte balance and improves muscle function. Another overlooked issue is fear. Many people over 60 avoid strength training because they fear injury. The reality is that avoiding strength training increases injury risk. Weak muscles cannot protect joints. Strong muscles act like armor. Progressive, controlled resistance is one of the safest interventions in aging medicine. Muscle loss is not linear. It accelerates rapidly once it reaches a certain threshold. The earlier you intervene, the easier it is to reverse. Even in people in their 70s and 80s, muscle strength and size can be regained when the right signals are restored. The human body does not forget how to build muscle. It simply waits for permission. Coffee is not the cure. It is the messenger. What you add to it determines whether that message tells your body to break down or build up. Keep drinking coffee alone and ignoring resistance training, and muscle loss continues quietly. Add the right signals, challenge your muscles, support recovery, and the trajectory changes. This is not about chasing youth. It is about preserving function, being able to rise from the floor, carry your own bags, climb stairs without fear, maintain balance, confidence, and independence. Muscle is freedom. Losing it is not inevitable. It is optional. The body after 60 is not fragile. It is adaptive. It responds quickly when given clarity. Small daily signals compound. A scoop here, a movement there, a better morning routine. Over months, muscle returns. Strength stabilizes, energy improves, and what once felt like decline becomes control again. Ignoring muscle loss is easy because it is quiet. Reversing it requires intention, not extremes. The tools are simple. The biology is clear. The choice is daily.